Happy Halloween, Braden Hornets! This week's project is a Halloween inspired project. We are going to be making ice cream, and for this project you will need some kind of black marker. I'm going to use a Sharpie, but you could use a black Crayola marker. You could even use a crayon or a pencil if you don't have a marker. And I'm also going to be using some colored pencils. Any colors will work. You could also use crayons or markers if you'd like. So to begin this project, we are going to draw the ice cream cone first. I want to start about in the middle of the page, and I want to draw two diagonal lines that meet at the center and the bottom. Next, I'm going to draw my first scoop of ice cream, and I want to make it look like it's melting and dripping. So starting at this side of the cone, I'm going to draw a wavy line that curves under and over all the way across. And to make it look a little more interesting, I'm going to make some of my lines long and some short. On the sides of my cone here, I'm going to draw two lines that curve out and around to make the sides of the scoop. And then I'm going to repeat that step again, starting here. So another drippy line. I'm going to make mine kind of arch up in the middle a little bit so I can get more space. And then I'm going to draw those two curved lines on the side again. There's my second scoop. For my next scoop, I'm going to make this one a little bigger. So I'm going to add a second curved line here that kind of curves in a little bit. Then I'm going to add my drippy wavy line. And my top scoop will go all the way around. So I'm going to add my two curved lines on the sides, and then a line that curves over, connecting those two all the way across. Next, I'm going to add some creepy toppings. I'm going to start by adding candy corn. You could add any type of Halloween treat or candy. I'm just going to kind of draw this curved triangle shape and then add two horizontal stripes inside. And I'm just putting that here on my middle scoop. I'm going to do some other things to my top and bottom scoops. I'm going to make this one upside down. Maybe make one kind of overlapping so it looks like it goes behind the ice cream there. On my bottom scoop, I'm going to make some drips. So I'm going to make it look like some of my ice cream is dripping by making some of these drop shapes. And I'm also going to draw something sticking out of my ice cream. I'm going to start with something like a tentacle. Now you could draw something completely different on yours. But I'm going to draw kind of this S line that comes out, makes a point, and then follows its way back to my scoop. And then I'm going to draw the little suckers on the tentacles. I'm going to draw oval shapes, 2 rows. So my first row is going to kind of go down the middle of this tentacle. And my second row is going to be smaller on the very edge here. Now I'm also going to add a spider web. So I'm going to start from a point here, and I'm going to draw 3 lines, maybe 4 lines, that connect to my ice cream here. I'm going to connect one from here to the bottom of the cone, and I did make it slightly curved. One to the middle of the cone. I'm going to connect one right here, to kind of the corner of my scoop. And then I'm going to connect the last one to my tentacle here. And then in between these lines, I'm going to draw lines that curve to make the web. So I'm just going to kind of leave some space between them. In some places, you can put 2 lines. In some spaces, just 1. To make it look a little more realistic, you can kind of vary the spacing there. And then I'm going to add my spider down here. So I'm going to draw this head here, and his body, an oval. And my spider has 8 legs, so I'm going to make my legs kind of come out and bend. So I'm making a kind of a horizontal line and then a vertical line. And I'm going to do 4 on one side and 4 on the other side. Now you could add more if you wanted to. You could add more toppings, you can add more things sticking out of your ice cream. You could even add something like a skeleton hand. So I'm going to make my skeleton hand sticking out this way since I'm running out of room at the top. So I'm going to draw 2 lines that kind of come out from the ice cream, and they're going to get a little further away from each other as they come out, and then they're going to curve over and touch. And I'm going to repeat that exact same shape right next to it. That's going to be the wrist of my skeleton hand. Then to draw the palm of the hand, I'm going to draw an oval right here. Kind of connect it to the lines you already have. And in between my lines, I'm going to fill in and just make them thicker. Next, I'm going to draw the finger bones, and I'm going to need 5 short ones. So I'm going to draw 5 kind of curved rectangles, 4 on the top, and then the thumb will go on the side here. Then I'm going to draw 2 more segments for the fingers. So these rectangles will be a little bit longer, and I can make them curve and kind of change direction like the fingers are bent. So there's 1, 2, 1, 2, and these are going to go off my page. So I'm just going to make them kind of go off the page. Now I want to go back and make these lines around my bones a little thicker. Makes it look a little bit more like a skeleton. Just having that black negative space in between. Now you can also do a different kind of hand. You could do a zombie hand, a werewolf hand. You can make bat wings coming out of your ice cream, all kinds of things. You're the artist, so you can choose. Alright, now it's time for me to color. And I'm going to color my ice cream cone before I add my face. Now, I have some neon color pencils, but I also have some regular color pencils, and you can use whatever you have at home to color. I'm going to start by coloring the ice cream cone because I want to show you guys how to make that ice cream cone look kind of three-dimensional. So I'm going to start with a really, really light value of brown. And you don't have to use brown, you could use any color. When I say light value, value means lightness or darkness. So light value means that I'm making this pencil as light as it can be by pressing very lightly as I color. That doesn't mean that I'm scribbling and not filling it in all the way or coloring it quickly. It just means that I'm not pushing down on the pencil as I color. I want it to be really light but also even. And of course I'm coloring around my drips because I want those to be a different color. And when I'm coloring with a light value, I really like to kind of move my pencil in a circular motion because it helps blend the pencil lines. So you don't see the direction that the pencil is coloring in, and it just looks a lot neater. And I always color along my edges to make sure that I don't accidentally color outside of them. Now what I'm going to do next is go back through and add the waffle cone texture on my ice cream cone by pressing a little harder with my pencil and making a dark value. So I can start anywhere with diagonal lines, and I'm going to make all my diagonal lines go in the same direction. So I'm going low to high on this first set, and I'm pressing down hard with my pencil. This is the same pencil. I'm just making really dark lines, and I want to make sure that if a line goes where my drips are, that I pick up my pencil and go around it. I want to show some overlapping there. I want it to look like the drip is on top of the ice cream cone, not the other way around. Same thing with my little drippy shapes here. I need to work around those. Alright, now once I get to the top, I'm going to start over going the other direction. So this time I'm going to go high to low. I'm just crisscrossing. So you're going to see little squares or diamond shapes appear as my lines cross. And again, I'm going to work around the other drawings so it looks like the ice cream is on top of the cone. And I can even go a step further with this and add some more value by doing some shading. So with shading, I'm going to start darker along the edge of my cone, where the shadow would be, and then gradually, slowly get lighter as I move towards the center. And whenever we shade something, it gives the illusion that it's three-dimensional. So I'm going to do that same thing on the other side. I'm going to put my darkest shadow right on the edge, and as I move towards the center of the cone, I'm going to color lighter and lighter. I don't just want a dark stripe. I want it to blend together. All right. I can also do that exact same shading on the waffle cone texture. So I can move away from those lines with more medium values to make it look like the waffle cone texture is 3D too. So I'm starting with my first set of lines, and I already have that dark value. I already have my darkest shadow, so I'm just adding sort of a medium shadow on either side. Then I'm going to go through and do the same thing to the other set of lines. That really makes my cone look three-dimensional. Not just the shape of it, but the texture too. Alright, next I'm going to start coloring my ice cream scoops. And I can make values on my ice cream scoops as well. I'm going to use some of my neon pencils for this part, so it looks a little bit more creepy and spooky, but you can use any color you like. So I'm going to start the same way by coloring a very light value all over. I'm just going to color my first scoop here. I'm going to fill it in very evenly. And if you drew some little drips, you'll want to make sure you fill those in as well. Always helps to color along the edges first and then fill in the center. That way you can focus on going slow and being really careful around your edges, and then you can work a little faster in the center. This exact same technique of adding value would work the same way with crayons. So if you don't have color pencils at home, you can definitely use crayons for this. And if all you have is markers, you can actually get a really similar effect by drawing outlines with your markers and then using a paintbrush with water on it to blend them. That can create value too. So then I'm going to go back through and around the edges of my scoop, especially where it curves. I'm going to add a darker shadow and then fade to a medium value and then into the lighter value. And if I do this around all of my drips and make them look three-dimensional, I really want to focus on the edges of my drips and leave the middle lighter so it looks like it's kind of shiny. And I'm going to repeat that exact same step for my drops here, and then all of my other scoops of ice cream. I'm going to go with a lighter green there. On this scoop, I'm going to color around my candy corn. And if you put toppings on your ice cream, you want to make sure you color around them, because if they're the same color as your ice cream, they're going to blend in, and you want them to stand out. I'm going to add some gray shadows along the edges of my skeleton hand because I want to leave most of this white so it looks like bones, but I also want it to look a little bit baby. And last, I'm going to color my tentacle. I'm going to make the shadow on the bottom of my tentacle here. I have to be careful to color around my spots. Alright, for my eyes, I'm going to need, and my mouth, I'm going to need a piece of scrap paper. So, I'm just going to tear off a little piece of scrap paper that I have. And on this paper, I'm going to use my marker to draw 2 eyes. Now, I'm going to make my eyes a little bit creepy. So, I'm going to make one of them kind of large and one of them a little smaller. And you can kind of draw over your paper, your ice cream drawing, to see how the eyes will fit on your ice cream cone. I'm going to give one of my eyes kind of a half closed eyelid, and then I'm going to draw a half circle in there. I want to include the shiny part of my pupil, the little highlight, so I'm going to draw a small circle and then fill in around it. On my smaller eye, I'm just going to draw my pupil, medium-sized circle, draw my highlight, and then fill in on my pupil. I'm going to color the eyelid of my half-closed eye. And then I'm going to give my big eye some creepy veins. So I'm going to pick a pencil. I'm going to use red. And around the edges, I'm going to draw some wiggly lines that kind of branch out. So I'm going to start with a Y and then add little tiny lines to the edges of my Y. And I'm going to repeat that step a few times. Can add some little ones in between. Make my eyelid, my little eyeball here, look really creepy. And then last, I'm going to give some color to the iris of this eye. So I'm going to color around the pupil. I'm going to give it an orange iris for part of the eye. And you could add some color to this eye too if you wanted to. But I'm going to leave it like that. Next, I'm going to draw a mouth, and you can make your mouth any shape. I'm going to make mine kind of a curved rectangle, and I'm going to fill this in all the way with a black marker. You could use a crayon. Again, if you don't have a Sharpie, you can just use a regular marker. And if you have black paper, you could just cut this out of black paper. Okay, next, I'm going to use some more of the scrap paper here to cut out some teeth for my mouth. I'm going to cut out little triangles, but you could make your teeth any shape. You can make them rectangles, you can make them kind of snaggle teeth, and I'm going to glue these on with some teeny tiny dots of glue. And you could use a glue stick for this, you don't have to glue a bottle. Alright, last, I'm going to cut out these 3 shapes. Starting with my mouth. careful to cut around my wet glue. And I'm going to cut out my 2 eyes. And my very last step is to glue on the different pieces of my face. So I probably just need a single dot of glue for my 2 eyes. And maybe 2 dots of glue for my mouth. And there is my ice cream monster. I hope you enjoyed making that with me.